You need medical here now? I got officer down.
Copy.
Hurry up, get up here.
A Colorado Springs police officer shot in the line of duty.
Sadly, this is becoming the norm.
The suspect's in custody as the officer fights for his life. Here at noon, complete coverage from the scene.
Got another afternoon of storms in the forecast. I'll let you know who has the best chance of seeing that umbrella weather coming up.
You're watching KRDO News Channel 13, where the news comes first. Your news starts right now.
Our top story at noon, officer down in Colorado Springs. A police officer was shot while responding to a call early this morning. This is chopper video of the scene. The officer identified as 5-year veteran Jem Duzel with the Sand Creek Division. We have yet to learn the name of the suspect who was also shot.
Now here's a map of the area where the events took place. We know a lot of it happened near Platte Avenue and Union Boulevard, so we want to get right to it. Our noon news team is live on the ground with the latest on the investigation and the officer's condition. Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. I'm John Carroll.
And I'm Shannon Prentice. You're watching KRDO News Channel 13, and we're also live on the air on KRDO News Radio.
We've been following that developing news for you all morning, and we're first live on the scene.
KRDO News Channel 13's Danny Freed and photojournalist Peter Miller have been there since 4 this morning. Danny joining us live, giving us all the details right now. Danny?
Well, John and Shannon, of course, this is still an incredibly active scene. If you joined us earlier this morning, it really doesn't look much different than it did earlier around 4 or 5, even 6 o'clock. I'm going to step out of the shot for you just to show you what we're looking at. We actually moved from where we were earlier this morning right now in the location that we are across the street on Union. Here we can see still these tactical teams working on this investigation, trying to figure out exactly what happened here. We've learned that Officer Jem Duzel is in critical condition and underwent surgery, but we do want to walk you through what has happened between the moment we first arrived and now.
Order shots fired in the area. At the same time, the security guard at 101 South Union is calling in saying they heard shots fired in the area as well.
2:45 and several reports of shots fired had Colorado Springs police officers rushing to the scene off Bonfoy and Boulder.
The male was firing random shots in the area. He had a gun in his waistband.
It was only moments later when officers arrived to the scene that shots rang out once again and the horror began.
You need medical here now? I got officer down. Hurry up, get up here. We got a gunshot wound to the head. Get him here now.
The suspect not far also shot, sustaining a non-life-threatening injury.
Suspect is hit as well. Suspect is here. He's down the ground. We're here with him now. I don't know where he's at yet. Don't move.
When we arrived, we were kept back from the initial crime scene, still piecing together what little information we could gather. It wasn't until 4:45 that Jackie Kirby with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office confirmed an officer had been hit, was in critical condition, and was undergoing surgery. The scene was then being combed over by the Sheriff's Office's deadly force investigation team.
We will process the scene just like we would anything else, and that will interview the witnesses, and that will give us a better picture and understanding of what happened today.
That officer, Jem Duzel, a 5-year veteran of the force.
It's very, very hard. You know, we've got people on scene that, put on their badge every day. They serve and protect this community, and they know that one of their brother in arms is now critically injured, and they've still got to press on and do their job and protect the community.
And as you guys know, of course, this is a very active and continuing investigation. Police are still here on scene, along with the Sheriff's Office that has already taken over this investigation. CSPD as well as Colorado State Patrol are here. They definitely are waiting. It seems like officers are really just waiting to hear how Officer Duzel is doing, what his condition is, as are we. So we'll keep you posted as soon as we learn more. John and Shannon.
Okay, Danny, thanks for that report.
Well, we want to go straight to KRDO News Channel 13's Crystal Story. She's at UC Health Memorial Hospital for an update on Officer Duzel's condition. Crystal, what have you found out?
Hey, good afternoon, John and Shannon. We've been here all morning. We got the initial call this morning learning that Officer Duzel was at the hospital undergoing surgery. As of right now, that's still what we know, that he is undergoing surgery. We have not heard if he's made it out, but of course we want to show you what he looks like. Here is Jem Duzel. It's a picture from his Facebook profile. We know that he came into the hospital after being shot and immediately into surgery in critical condition. We're not sure what kind of injuries he sustained. That is still unclear, but the crime scene was just a few blocks away from the hospital, so we have high hopes. Again, this is what Chief Pete Carey told us about Officer Duzel this morning.
When officers arrived on scene, they encountered an armed suspect and there was an exchange of gunfire. Jim Duzel, a 5-year veteran of the Colorado Springs Police Department, was critically wounded. He sustained a gunshot wound. This has been an extremely difficult year with law enforcement officers being hurt or killed, in particular in our region. Please keep Officer Duzel, his family, and the Colorado Springs Police Department in your thoughts and prayers.
Now, as of right now, we still don't have any update on whether or not that surgery was successful, and it's unclear when we're going to get another update on Officer Duzel. But we're going to be right here at UC Health Hospital all day, hoping for that update and hoping for, of course, the best outcome. Earlier, we talked about how many police officers have come by. We just saw a few officers leave the area, and we're not sure if any more are going to come and show their support for their brother in arms. In Colorado Springs, Crystal Story, KRDO News Channel 13.
It is a somber day all across Colorado. Thank you, Crystal. Now, the area where this took place is due east of the Olympic Training Center off of busy Union Boulevard. Now, the area that has been cordoned off where investigators are investigating is roughly about 8 blocks right here. St. Vrain on to the north, Union off to the west. Platte Avenue is one of the borders, as is Prairie. And this map gives an overview, but we've got helicopter footage to give us an even better idea of just what went down at Bonfoy and Boulder as we continue our breaking news coverage.
Down below, this bird's eye view shows the eerie scene where Officer Jem Duzel and a suspected gunman shot it out. From a distance, leafy treetops indicate the kind of neighborhood where an armed suspect stood out, prompting calls to 911. Very quickly after the shooting, the blocks were cordoned off as the sheriff's office brought in its major crimes unit, specially equipped RV, to take over. From this vantage point, it's difficult to discern the smaller details, the shell casings and bits of clothing, but investigators would be readying to perform grid searches to discover anything pertinent. Down below, somber faces of Springs officers who have dealt all too often with violence in their midst as they stand ready to make statements on what they saw, heard, and did. Meanwhile, residents and others trying to get in or out were hurried along so they wouldn't compromise the investigation scene. A flatbed tow truck is brought in so that the officers' cars could be taken to a more secure spot in case evidence needs to be preserved. From the air, this could be any other day, belying the intensity of efforts of those on the ground to collect facts and evidence to lay out the chain of events that put 2 people in the hospital.
Now, many people in this Colorado Springs neighborhood woke up to crime scene tape right in front of their homes this morning. Neighbors now learning that it was because of that officer shooting. KRDO News Channel 13's Alexis Dominguez is speaking to people in the area about what they've seen, and she joins us now. Alexis?
Well, Shannon, today people have had mixed reactions. People who live here say they're surprised it happened so close to home, while those who live around here say this has never happened in the neighborhood and they're hoping it doesn't happen again. People in this neighborhood expected to wake up to their normal day, but instead say that hasn't been the case.
Woke up around 4 to a bunch of lights and commotion going on.
Megan Rosman now knows Officer Jem Duzel was shot while investigating a call to several gunshots being fired, though she says she never heard any.
Just a lot of commotion down the alleyway. We're literally like stone's throw away from where it happened, and we didn't hear any gunshots.
Others, like Anthony Rivera, just trying to make it into work, but instead was greeted by crime scene tape and police blocking off the intersection.
Traffic was blocked off from down there on Union all the way down here to the Prairie.
Duzel isn't the first officer to be shot in Colorado this year, making neighbors here nervous.
Yeah, it's not a good thing. It's getting kind of bad if it's happening all the time, you know.
It's kind of scary. I don't think there's enough officers to control what's going on. The amount of people moving into Colorado Springs in general.
Some even put flags out in their front yard as a reminder that they support those who work hard to protect them. And like I said, people who live here say it's unusual for the neighborhood, and they're just hoping they don't see violence like this again. Live in Colorado Springs, Alexis Dominguez, KRDO News Channel 13.
All right, Alexis, we know you're busy out there gathering more information. We'll let you get to it. Many people driving or walking past the crime scene this morning hadn't heard about the shooting of the Springs policeman.
Others had heard about it while getting ready for work or on their way to work. KRDO News Channel 13 Scott Harrison continues our team coverage with reaction to the officer's shooting. Scott, what have you heard?
Well, guys, behind me on the east side of the crime scene, you can see the crime tape that goes around part of this block and in front of a house there. That crime scene tape was just put up a minute ago. So this crime scene apparently is getting wider now, covering more territory, more work for the police officers to have to do. Now, for people around this crime scene, there were two common emotions today. One, sadness because of the violence that has Officer Duzel fighting for his life right now just down the street at Memorial Hospital, and also surprise that many people were just learning of it this morning on the way to work. Let's take you to video from earlier this morning, as there was a lot of confusion for people going around the crime scene. Now, traffic congestion at Platte and Union and at Boulder and Union, both closed for the shooting investigation, frustrated many people, making it a challenge for vehicles to turn and for pedestrians to cross the street. But that frustration quickly turned to concern for Officer Duzel when it became known that he is critically injured after investigating a report of a man firing a gun.
For me, it's very awful because this area here is very quiet and I love to live here. And just an officer to be shot, that's not a good thing for us here. It's not really safe.
No way.
That's what happened. So,
it was the officer?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Yeah, that's tragic. I don't know what to say.
Gotta be careful in this neighborhood.
Yeah. It used to be a good neighborhood.
Now, many people passing through the area and hadn't heard about the shooting say they thought the police activity was because of a parade or road construction, but most of them now know what happened here this morning. And people we spoke with also took time to thank the officers who responded to that call of shots fired, thanking Officer Duzel and his comrades, and also asking that for prayers and thoughts for the officer and his family during this difficult time. We're live around the crime scene of the officer shooting in Colorado Springs. Scott Harrison, KRDO News Channel 13.
All right, Scott, thank you. And once again, here's a map of the area where the events took place. We know it happened near Platte Avenue and Union Boulevard. It was a moving scene as police closed in on this man apparently wandering the neighborhood and firing shots. Now, here's a sky view of the scene this morning. Don't go anywhere. We will continue with our live reports coming up at 12:30. Much more to hear on this story. And as always, you can find the latest details on this shooting on our website, KRDO.com.
Right now, we want to take you outside and give you this view. This is the view from our Cheyenne Mountain PPAR.com camera, and it gives you an idea of the hazy skies that we're experiencing down below. And part of that is smoke that we are getting from wildfires out to the west. Let's go over now to Katie Donovan.
Yeah, we've got that northwest flow today, so that is carrying some of that smoke into the area. Air quality really not that bad, but definitely making for a hazy sky today. Right now, we're seeing quiet conditions across the region, but I do expect some storms to develop here in the next couple of hours, so radar should become a little bit more active, especially up over the mountains. Temperatures right now at about 79 in Springs here, 79 in Fort Carson, 85 in Pueblo, and 73 in Woodland Park. I'll have the latest on the timing of those storms and how long they stick around coming up. John and Shannon.
Katie, thank you. Now to a dramatic scene in Denver. Police shooting a 73-year-old Vietnam War veteran whose family claims he was only protecting his home from violent intruders. Police say they are still investigating it all. ABC's Maggie Rulli has more.
A home invasion has Chad Ayashi reeling from a double nightmare. The first coming at 1:30 Monday morning when he wakes to a woman outside his bedroom warning him her son is on drugs and has his baby.
I just immediately shot into the bathroom to find this naked guy, soaking wet, holding, like, on his back with his feet out of the tub, choking my son, biting his left ear.
Hayashi says his father, 73-year-old Gary Black, runs in to help armed with a handgun.
And that's what he pulled out and shot the guy twice in the torso.
The intruder, 26-year-old DeJohn Harper, is killed. But then Hayashi's second horror. Police officers apparently mistake his father for a suspect, shooting and killing him. Police say arriving officers faced a scene that was chaotic and violent.
Information goes out very quickly. And obviously, much of that information, particularly as it pertains to this situation, has been inaccurate.
An attorney hired by Black's family says he never should have been shot.
They should have given him the opportunity to simply put the firearm down.
And his son says his father, the Purple Heart and Bronze Star recipient, will always be his hero.
My son would be dead, my mom, my daughter, we'd all be dead. If it wasn't for him.
Police confirm that the very same officer who killed Beck also shot and killed a fleeing suspect less than a month ago. The family's attorney says it was too soon for him to be back on the street, but police say there's more to this story. Maggie Bruley, ABC News, New York.
A major brewery is branching out.
Coming up, find out which ingredient Molson Coors plans to use in place of alcohol.
And we had a cooler day yesterday, but temperatures really staying above average as we head into the next several days. I'll have the latest on that warm up and if we'll be cooling down anytime soon coming up.
Right now, we want to take you outside. This is near I-25 and Monument, and you can see traffic flowing pretty well up there on Highway 105, but we're also keeping an eye on the trees and the flag there because those are usually good indicators of any wind, and right now it looks pretty calm out there.
Happening now on Wall Street, the Dow up just a handful, a little more than 5 points. S&P 500 up 13, NASDAQ up 86.
Well, right now we want to get down to business. Get this, a beer company is investing in weed.
Molson Coors Canada, one of the world's best known breweries, is entering into a joint venture with a Canadian cannabis company. The goal is to develop non-alcoholic cannabis-infused products. This comes as Canada loosens its restrictions on marijuana. The country is legalizing recreational marijuana sales in October.
Now, the joint venture will see Molson Coors develop a standalone company with the Apothecary Corporation. It's a pot producer based in Quebec. The duo will work together to introduce more smoke-free cannabis products to the public. According to USA Today, the cannabis-infused drinks likely won't hit store shelves until next summer. We continue to follow this morning's shooting that left a Springs police officer in critical condition.
Still ahead, more of our live team coverage.
And we need some rain in the forecast to wash some of that pollen out of the air. Got plenty of it on the way, especially into tomorrow. I'll have the latest on our afternoon storms coming up after the break.
Right now, a pretty nice Thursday afternoon, a little bit haze, smoke in the skies there, hurting the view here from our Huberger Subaru Neighborhood Weather Network camera. Let's bring in Storm Tracker 13 meteorologist Katie Donovan now to bring the picture into focus.
All right, thanks so much, John. We do have that smoke blowing into the area today. We've got those wildfires burning in California. We also have some on the western slope here in Colorado, but this is what that airflow looks like right now. It's coming out of the northwest, so all it's doing is picking up a lot of that smoke coming off those plumes and carrying it right down here into southern Colorado. So not going to cause you issues today, but it is going to obstruct your view of our beautiful mountains this afternoon. Satellite and radar right now showing quiet conditions for the whole southern half of the state, but in a couple of hours we are going to be seeing more showers and storms developing, I think, over the mountains first. So we'll time those out for you right now on our Skycast. We're going to be pretty quiet at least in the next hour, hour and a half. Usually storms around here, they start going around 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I think these probably going to be popping up sometime between about 2, possibly as late as 3 in some areas. So we'll see those clouds building around 2 o'clock, isolated showers and storms, and then I think they become more numerous as we head into the evening hours. So 5, 6 o'clock, we're going to be seeing some scattered storms up over the mountains, those likely spilling over towards I-25 as we head through the evening commute. Now, don't expect severe weather, but I think we could see pockets of heavier rainfall, could cause some localized flash flooding over burn scars, lightning, and maybe even some small hail. But here we are at 8 o'clock, still seeing some scattered storms out there. And then following that, we should dry things out pretty quickly. I think we will keep the cloud cover tonight, though, so we'll call it partly to mostly cloudy. 80s as we head through the afternoon hours today. Colorado Springs 90s and Canyon City, Pueblo out over the eastern plains, some mid-90s. Those of you in the mountains feel in the 70s this afternoon, so a nice temperature day there. And then over the next couple of days, we're really going to start to increase the rain chances. I think best day for rain in Woodland Park, it's going to be tomorrow. And then not as much as we head into Saturday and Sunday, and then another opportunity for rain for Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday look pretty dry. A few showers in for Thursday afternoon. Canyon City, you have your best day for rain and storms tomorrow, and then not as much as we head into the weekend. Monday, going to be 30% chance of showers and storms, and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday look dry with highs in the 90s. Pueblo, you have best chance of rain tomorrow and then again on Monday, and then we are going to dry things out Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for you. But it is going to be pretty hot over these next several days, mid-upper 90s, and in Colorado Springs, best days for rain tomorrow and Monday. Looks pretty dry over the weekend, especially by Sunday, so just isolated showers and storms, and temperatures really hot as we head through the weekend, upper 80s, even some low 90s out there. So I know we're already making some plans for Friday, so you just want to keep that rain in mind tomorrow. It's definitely going to be an umbrella day for sure.
Okay.
And after that, have to probably put fire danger back into the forecast.
Yeah, it looks like next week we probably, if a couple of days are dry back to back, we'll have to keep a close eye on that.
All right, Katie, thanks.
Yep.
In your wildfire coverage, we're tracking yet another new wildfire out west.
This one is called the South Valley Fire. Now, it's already burned several buildings near the town of Dufur, Oregon. It's threatening 80 other buildings and homes. The flames kicked up yesterday, and this fire is now about 10,000 acres in size. There you have a good idea of the area that's on fire. No word yet on how much is contained. More than 150 firefighters are attacking this one on the ground and from the air, but the Forest Service is calling in more air support. Investigators say someone caused this fire. A Colorado Springs police officer is fighting for his life. Coming up, we continue with our team coverage and more live reports of the early morning shootout from near the Olympic Training Center.
And a live look outside at I-25 through Motor City on this mostly sunny and warm Thursday afternoon. Welcome back. An update now on the Russian ad Facebook scandal from Washington, where lawmakers are trying to figure out how they'll respond to foreign nationals who are trying to disrupt future elections.
We're already fighting against each other in this country. All this does is just sort of stir that up even more. Is that an accurate assessment? Is this informational warfare?
I agree 100%.
This all comes after Facebook announced it uncovered a sophisticated campaign that tried to influence Americans. The social media giant says some of that activity is similar to what Russia did during the 2016 election. This follows Senator Claire McCaskill announcing that Russians had unsuccessfully tried to hack into her office.
And we're continuing to follow all the newest developments in the Russia investigation. President Trump now is urging Attorney General Jeff Sessions to end the investigation immediately.
He used the word should, he didn't use the word must, and there was no presidential directive that followed it.
But
he didn't direct him to do it, and he's not going to direct him to do it.
So there, the president's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, offering some nuance to the statements the president has made. The New York Times is reporting that the president does want to meet with Mueller, but his lawyers say they don't want the two to meet in person so that the president does not legally expose himself.
Quick look outside here at I-25 and North Nevada. You see that smoky haze off in the distance at North Academy and I-25. This is KRDO News Channel 13 at noon. We're also live on the air on KRDO News Radio.
And we are continuing to follow that breaking news here in Colorado Springs. A police officer was shot while responding to a call early this morning. Now, this is aerial footage of the scene. The officer, who's identified as 5-year veteran Jem Duzel with the Sand Creek Division. We have yet to learn the name of the suspect, who also was shot and wounded.
Here's a map of the area where this all took place. We know it happened around Platte Avenue near Union Boulevard. We want to get right to our coverage, full team coverage with new information on the shooting investigation. Our KRDO News team is live on the ground with more on what happened that left a Colorado Springs officer fighting for his life.
And of course, we've been covering this story from the beginning. Our own reporter, Danny Freed, and photojournalist Peter Miller have been on scene since about 4 this morning, and she joins us now live with what she's been learning. Danny?
Well, John and Shannon, of course, you know that we have been here, like you said, since early this morning. Right when we first got the calls, we did head down here. And even since then, the scene really doesn't look too much different than it did just a few hours ago. I'm going to step out of the frame here to show you what we're seeing now. At this point, still seeing officers on scene. Obviously, still a very active investigation, here off of Union and Boulder. This did happen just a few streets down Boulder there. Now, we are still seeing the Sheriff's Department still working hard on this case. They're the ones who are investigating as of now. Now, Officer Duzel is in critical condition and at last check was undergoing surgery. The incident did happen after Colorado Springs police responded to multiple shots fired calls at 2:45 this morning. When they arrived to the intersection of Bonfoy and Boulder, the suspect continued to open fire. That is when the suspect shot Officer Duzel, and it does sound like he was shot in the head. The Sheriff's Office quickly took over the investigation. Jackie Kirby with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office says having another officer shot in the line of duty is difficult for all peace officers to have to deal with right now.
We had 4 officers, 3 deputies, 1 officer that was shot. We know Micah died in February, and then we just had one of our SWAT officers a few weeks ago, and now this. It's very, very hard.
The suspect was also shot. That person sustained non-life-threatening injuries. At this time, we do know, too, we heard from Jackie Kirby just about an hour ago that the suspect is a male suspect. As of now, though, that is the only information we have. I also did mention before that the Sheriff's Office is the one that is doing the investigating here, but the Colorado Springs Police Department, as well as CSP, that's Colorado State Patrol, are both on scene here, too, trying their best to help as much as they can. Of course, that being said, just really trying to help their officer in blue. So we'll continue to keep you posted on this scene. As soon as we learn more information, we'll go ahead and send it your way. For now, we are live in Colorado Springs. Danny Freed, KRDO News Channel 13.
Annie, bringing us all the developments throughout this morning, and we know that you've put in a long day, but we're going to hope that you can get us more information staying out there on the scene right now. Now we continue with other team coverage. We're going to KRDO News Channel 13's Crystal Story, who's waiting to find out the latest on Officer Duzel's condition. She's there at the hospital. Crystal?
Yeah, Officer Jem Duzel was rushed to UC Memorial this morning. He is now in the condition called gravely wounded. We know he underwent surgery this morning. We're still not sure if he's out today, but of course we're still waiting for an update on how he's doing and the outcome of that surgery this morning. At this hour, we're still not sure what his current condition is. It's been several hours since the last update from Chief Pete Carey, and considering other similar situations we've seen where officers get shot, we think that might be a good thing. Now, his injuries must be serious considering the scene that is still very active near Boulder Street. The suspect, who also suffered non-life-threatening injuries, is also at the hospital here. We'll continue to keep you updated on those conditions. Live in Colorado Springs, Crystal Story, KRDO News Channel 13.
Crystal, thanks. And it was during morning rush hour. Traffic was congested around the officer shooting scene there on the Springs East Side.
And many people are, as we are, waiting to learn more about the shooting and the conditions of those who were hurt, especially Officer Duzel and his family, also waiting for that information. KRDO News Channel 13, Scott Harrison has been in the area all morning gathering more reactions. Scott?
Well, by now, most people do know that Officer Duzel was in critical condition, as we've been telling you, just down the street at UC Memorial Hospital after surgery or during surgery from a gunshot wound to the head that he received during this incident. But many people did not know that when they were traveling through the area this morning. Let's take you to video from earlier now. Now, whether people were driving or walking to work, walking the dog, or out for a run, getting into the daily routine was just a little harder than usual because people know that while they slept, Officer Duzel and some fellow officers risked their lives to keep us safe from a suspect firing a gun. The shooting has shocked and disrupted this neighborhood, a neighborhood described as normally quiet and peaceful by many of the residents. They're hoping Officer Duzel recovers and that the person responsible for this incident gets the strongest punishment possible. We come back here live to the scene where you can see the command post up the street there. That's kind of the center of where all of this happened just before 3 o'clock this morning. And All morning, as we stood outside covering this shooting, people in vehicles stopped or slowed down to roll down their windows and ask either what was going on or how was Officer Duzel doing. When a peace officer is hurt or killed, as we've seen happen all too often lately, the whole community feels that pain. We'll continue to be out here to keep you updated on this situation. We're live on the east side of Colorado Springs. Scott Harrison, KRDO News Channel 13.
Scott, thank you. And as you alluded to, 2018 has been a violent one for law enforcement officers here in Colorado.
That's right. 3 deputies were shot in the first 2 months of the year. KRDO News Channel 13's Hannah Knutson is live in the Web Center giving us a look back. Hannah?
The first shooting happened at the start of the year in Highlands Ranch. Just weeks later, another deputy down in Thornton. And in February, Colorado Springs had its first deputy death since 2012.
On New Year's Eve, Douglas County Deputy Zachary Parrish tucked his 2 daughters into bed and kissed his wife goodbye, then left for his graveyard shift. While responding to a barricaded man, Parrish was shot 11 times. 4 other officers were also injured during the shooting. Less than a month later, on January 24th, Adams County Deputy Heath Gum was killed while responding to an assault in progress in Thornton when he was shot in the chest. Gum leaves behind his wife, Natasha. Closer to home, and 12 days after Deputy Gum was fatally shot, El Paso County Deputy Micah Flick was killed while investigating a car theft on February 5th. Flick leaves behind his wife Rachel and 2 7-year-old twins.
6 months later, we still have very few details about Deputy Flick's death. The investigation is complete and in the hands of the DA, but the autopsy report is sealed. We'll continue to have every angle of this story covered on air and online at KRDO.com.